Hello, and welcome to our Volanté Enterprise Kiosk training. In today's session, we'll be reviewing the general setup, service modes, and other pieces related to our hardware setup. So, for our video, we'll be reviewing users and how we set up a cashier user for the kiosk if needed. We'll take a look at our system setup area for our POS service type kiosk and what some of these settings in there are related to. We'll be taking a look at the quick menu and some of our kiosk specific layout considerations and a bit of information review about the graphics for items and categories. Lastly, we'll be taking a look at the hardware area and how we add our configurations to a group and set up ready for our kiosk. Let's go ahead and get started. So from our main dashboard screen, we can access our user management area. These areas can also be accessed through our quick menu on the left-hand side. I'll access our user management area where we'll be going to virtual users. We may already see kiosk users created within our virtual user list. However, if we do not, we'll go ahead and create that virtual user. So I'll click on create. And generally, we just have to provide a first name and last name for this particular user, as well as the type of user. So in this case, I'll call them kiosk, and set the type to be a kiosk user and hit create. Our user has now been created. It is possible that kiosk users may already exist. If we come to our user management area and access other users, we can see that there may be other users in the system already. And in our case, we've got a kiosk user, and we can see that it came down to our store and which store it's currently assigned to, which is my store. I can tell this user came down through Enterprise as I have an Enterprise logo beside this particular user. We'll return now to our dashboard by choosing the V at the top of our screen. Our next section to take a look at will be our system setup. From here, I'll access system setup and POS service types. It is very likely that we already may have kiosk service modes enabled on our system. I can see that in this particular demo, I have three different service modes related to kiosk. Self-serve requiring customer database, self-serve with no customer database, and self-serve with customer database. I can see that these have come down from the enterprise to me based on the enterprise logo appearing on screen. I'll choose one of these settings so we can take a look. From here, I can see the name, display name, and POS service type have all been pre-assigned. Because this particular group of settings has come down from enterprise, I am unable to change or make any modifications to this particular setup. This setup is intended to run in self-serve mode. We can see it's set to pre-order mode. It will prompt for the customer to sign in, however, does not require the customer sign in. It does allow for a customer manual entry. The entry on screen would be in pin pad format. I can also view the timeouts for the kiosk as well as the countdown for duration of pop-up. I can also take a quick look at what payment types are enabled on this kiosk. In this case, we've got credit card, debit, discounts, and on account. I will also automatically print the receipt on close. I'm going to step back to POS service type modes here for a moment and take a look at what settings are available to us depending on our kiosk configuration. In my case, I'll give my new configuration a name, and I can choose the mode to run in. In this case, cashier quick service, standard quick service, or kiosk self-service. So in this case, it's going to be a kiosk self-service mode, and we'll choose create. Information does appear very similar to my previous screen. However, I have the ability to create different names and display names. I am locked into kiosk self-service mode, and I can do some identification configurations, timeout configurations, as well as adjusting payment types. I'm going to return back to my main screen. Notice I do not have an enterprise logo beside the name of this configuration as it was built locally and did not come from the enterprise itself. We do have the ability, depending on your environment, to create additional kiosk setup configurations. I've switched over to one of my demo environments and I'm going to create a POS service type. Again, I can create a name and which type of mode I'm running in, kiosk self-service, and hit create. An additional setting exists under the design area where I can set my transaction completion message as well as my complete message for paying at counter, which is currently not enabled on this configuration. We'll take a look now at our quick menu configuration. We'll access our quick menu where we can see any previously created menus. I have created a training kiosk menu for today's demo. However, a new quick menu can be created. It's also possible that these menus were previously created for you. I'll access our existing kiosk menu where we can see our layout and design. Generally, it's best practice to keep our quick menu in 3 to 5 column width, and we can have as many different categories available to us as we like. As we've noted in previous videos, any category space that does not have a name and at least one item on its screen will not appear on the kiosk. From here, we can add label buttons. We can add in different buttons for our items as we do normally with item additions. And these items can also have graphics assigned to them. We do have a video to review on adding graphics at both the item level as well as via the quick menu. The main difference is that graphics added to the main item will appear for all items regardless of the quick menu. If I add a specific graphic to an item button as it exists in a quick menu, that graphic will override the default on the ordering screen. This lets us have different graphics for different situations. So, for example, I may have coffee as a standard item. However, when sold in my cafeteria, I may have the default image. But if sold in my Starbucks location, I may wish to change my quick menu graphic to display a Starbucks cup. I'm going to return back to my previous screen, and we have the ability to create a quick menu if needed. As I already have this quick menu, we're going to review the hardware setup for our kiosk as our last step. I'm going to choose my V and return back to my dashboard. We'll come to hardware management where I can see my setup. In my case, I have a main terminal group that consists of 2 different systems already. If I choose, I can review the different settings for this particular grouping of machines. I can see the name, any reports assigned, images and timeouts. I can also see the menu assignment. So in this case, I've assigned this group the training menu that we just looked at. This means this will be the default menu that appears on this particular kiosk setup. I can also assign any particular price levels at this point if I wish. I also have the ability to assign a receipt header and footer, add in any scan parsers, displays, or customer-facing display screen settings. And I can also review the service mode assignment. So in my case, I have the kiosk mode already assigned. I'll hit the pencil so we can take a quick look at the settings. This is my service mode as we set up. This tells the kiosk how to behave, timeouts, and different settings. I also have a default cashier panel available. However, it's not generally needed for kiosks, so global cashier or similar is acceptable. Notice that both of these have come down from enterprise. My home page will be my training kiosk quick menu. We reviewed our quick menu, and this is the one we'd like to have display on kiosk. My last step is to assign the user. As we saw, we created a user, or your user may have been brought down from enterprise. This is our virtual cashier running the kiosk for us and doing sales. I'm going to hit cancel. We'll complete our setup. I can also restrict customer types from my hardware setup if I wish. Taking a look at the kiosk configuration specifically, I can see information about the name of the machine, IP address, and MAC address, any receipt printer configured to it, additional peripherals, and accepted payments and credit card configurations. At this stage, I would begin initializing my hardware terminal. Based on what we've looked at today, we can now take a look at our kiosk. Here's a virtualization of our kiosk. I'm going to tap to start, and I do have the option to scan or enter my customer badge at any time based on my settings. In this case, my setting on my kiosk configuration would have been allow customer database, but not as a mandatory field. If I'd like to enter a customer at any time, I can choose the customer and scan or enter my customer badge or enter a pickup name. I'll choose to exit my order, which brings me back to my ordering screen. Keep in mind my virtual cashier is my kiosk configuration as set up. My quick menu is the quick menu we reviewed with our starters, soups and salads, sandwiches and beverages. I can see that in my beverages menu, my small coffee has an override graphic compared to the other two, which are using the default item graphic. And I have some items that are label buttons, which again can be pressed but don't actually add to the order. I can choose the barcode, which will tell me to scan a barcode at any time to add items or customers into the order. Based on my kiosk configuration, once items have been added to my order, I see them added to cart at the bottom. I can view my order at any time, return back to menu, and go to checkout. In my configuration, I only had credit card as a configured method of payment, but if I had a logged in customer, then we could be using customer account as a payment. Let's exit our order, return back to our order screen, and do a confirmation. Thank you for watching today's quick video on our kiosk configuration. Please look for additional videos related to our Volanté Enterprise kiosk setup, functions, and more.